Hey everybody, welcome back to Deep Images. We are finally presenting part two of our symposium on Cannibal Holocaust. The first part was a rundown of the film, Sensory Stowers, and panelist Adam Riley, and I am Henry Covert. It has been a labor of love. I've tried to pack it with as much as I can pack within an hour or so of Deep Images, the channel, the show, the entity known as Deep Images, and what it and we feel about Cannibal Holocaust from a range of opinions and views, and a singular place as, to some people, the most controversial film ever made. I will let others debate that. We debate it on the show. So, coming right up, first of all, we've got Bill Mulligan, co founder of Deep Images and panelist supreme. He is going to give us a brief introduction with his feelings about the film. Then we're going to segue on into the opening music and get back into the symposium. When that's done, I'll pop up again like this in this shrouded form to thank you for watching and to prepare you for some special extra bonuses that are going to come after the main symposium concludes. So you're in for a ride if you're a big Cannibal Holocaust fan, or you just like that pretty music and you're like, how could that belong to a film like this? Check us out, man. Like it, like the video, subscribe to the channel. So welcome again, and let's get into it with Bill.
So, Cannibal Holocaust. Where do you begin? I tend to either love movies or hate movies, and I have a little bit of both feelings for this one. It's undeniably brilliant. It basically is the last word in its own genre. In a weird sense, Cannibal Holocaust is the epitome of its genre and destroyed its genre because after this, what was the point of making another cannibal movie? They were already pretty limited in scope, and Cannibal Holocaust did it as well as it could be done, said what it wanted to say, and anything else would just appear to be a pale imitation. So there was just nowhere left to go. It's not a very moral movie. It's trying to have its cake and eat it too. It's kind of like somebody at the Colosseum throwing Christians to the lions and then tutting the Romans when they cheer. It gives you the most horrible graphic violence and actual killing of animals, and then sort of sits back and says, isn't it terrible that you people watch this sort of thing? It's like, hey man, you made it. It's like an anti-pornographic movie. But for all that, it's brilliantly made. The cinematography is fantastic. The actors are so convincing, people actually thought they died. There aren't too many movies that people actually believe that of and almost got their filmmakers arrested. So it is a great and important movie in the horror genre. That doesn't mean you have to see it. And if you're the kind of person who knows themselves enough to say, I don't care how good this is, everything I know about it tells me I'm not going to enjoy it, I would not judge you for that. There are some films like Salo, like a Serbian film, people tell me they're brilliant, and they probably are. I just can't imagine getting any enjoyment from watching it. At this point in my life, I watch things because I enjoy them. I don't need the medicine. It's not going to make me a better person just because it's a great film that makes me feel bad about life and myself. So I understand. If you don't want to see Cannibal Holocaust, let nobody bully you into seeing it. But you are missing something because this really is incredibly well made for such a garbage subgenre of horror. It's amazing just how good this was. On the other hand, everyone involved with it seems to be very embarrassed that they had anything to do with it. They cashed the paychecks, but they're sorry about it now. That's true for a lot of things in life. There aren't too many films like this one. Maybe that's a good thing.
Dark desires, breathing in fire, running a blaze, fueling my last days.
We head toward the end, and it's kind of karma, divine retribution. Harold kind of wants them to watch it, the higher ups, because he feels like this is going to stop you from doing this show. because only he had seen that. Because they make jokes about Alan. I mean, the first time the woman gets uncomfortable with anything is when Alan rapes the girl, the native girl. But I mean, she's pretty much cool with everything before that. They
Mm.
get in two other executives, and the four of them watch it. Again, it's pretty brilliantly shot. It's all handheld, and I guess Mark is the character, main guy carries the camera. Though there are other shots that Jack took, but that's when the cannibals have them, and they kind of panic and freak out, and they run and they leave all their supplies. So all they've got are the cameras and the clothes on their back and a flare gun. They do have a rifle. They have one rifle that Jack had. And so Jack runs out there and starts shooting at them, thinking they're all going to go away. And then he gets a spear in the chest. This is something else I didn't know. I didn't notice till today what Alan was intending to do. I don't know if you catch it. I thought
He
he
tells
gets
him to keep rolling,
speared,
doesn't he?
and yeah, he gets speared and he falls over. And of course, Alan wants to keep recording it, but actually, Alan kills him. Alan kills him because he gets the spear, and then when Alan sees it, something in his mind, you don't see his face, but something in his mind is like, okay, now there's gonna be a dead body. We can watch them eat it, tear it up, and because he said, okay, and then she says,
He
no,
stops
no,
him
he's still alive, and
and he
then
says,
he
well, he's done anyways and he's dead
yeah,
anyway.
you hear the shot, you don't
Ah,
see it, so I was like, yeah, I guess this guy would just, blow one of his friends away. It's a belief. When they get Jack, and after he's dead, at least, everything you can imagine, disembowelment and castration.
Mm.
mhm.
But also, they get Faye, and that's like the first time Alan seems worried,
Yeah.
about anybody. Mark's like, no, we got to keep filming, Alan. We got to keep filming. We got to get the hands back to the States. And many, many found footage film since have paraphrased those lines exactly. And
Yeah.
we got to keep shooting. Mark actually shoots them attacking Faye, and it's pretty rough because of course they rape her for tear her clothes off, rape her, and all this is to the music going frantic in the different styles and that boo boo boo, boo boo, doing that and just like so menacing. They simulated rape her, but it's pretty graphic because when they pick her up off the ground, I mean, you can see her entire vulva, and she didn't want to do completely nude scenes. And Diodato went off on her, and she reluctantly agreed. And wow, they behead her and hold the head up like it's their
Mm.
trophy. And they just start the thing. They must be very strong. I mean, they take these spears that have like I guess sharpened rocks, and they hit the bodies. They do this in a lot of these cannibal movies. I guess it's a real life thing. It's like to soften up the meat or like tear through the flesh, and they
Mm.
just they within a few strikes they're just pulping it, but it
Mm.
doesn't look like they're hitting it that hard. They're just going, um, but they've got to be strong. They're all pretty muscular too. I guess they got to get a good workout. They're trying to survive. Um,
Yeah.
so we know how it ends. And again, another kind of shot that became iconic is Alan falls, and you see his face bloody, and it's being filmed by Mark. So I don't know sure which one dropped the camera first, but I mean, which I don't know if which he dropped the camera and then Alan died or the other way around. But so Professor Monroe has convinced them not to do it. They're going to burn it, and we find out in the back in the credits, some guy was
It's the
arrested.
editor, isn't it? The editor actually steals the footage and releases it anyway.
Yeah, somebody in the studio, and it wasn't one of the executives. 250,000,
250.
which back then was practically 10
Obviously,
million.
yeah.
Now you got that snuff thing in your head. You're like, some collector is gonna just groove off this, man. Kirsty, what was your first experience with this movie? How do you feel about it? And etc.
Well, when I first watched it,
Mm-hmm.
God, this is going back quite a while now. But when I first watched it, I didn't think anything was real because, special effects and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the more I dug into it and the more I watched it and found out that a lot of these scenes were real and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of kind of made me feel a little bit sick in a way, but I still really liked the movie. And that's what I like about it to this day, finding out more about it and the director and everything and the actors and what they went through and everything like that and the animal cruelty and stuff. So I think this movie is very unique in a way that I don't think it's been done before and I don't think it'll ever happen again. So it's unique that way. And it also blurs the lines between what is real, what isn't real. So I think the director does a very good job with all that. And so I applaud the movie for that and I applaud the director for that. So yeah, so I definitely think everybody should go out and buy it and watch it at least and, experience it, I suppose.
It's really has quite a reputation now. I mean,
Mhm.
almost any casual film person knows the name of it, if nothing else.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
even the soundtrack as well. Like
yeah,
if you've heard the soundtrack, you know what movie it's from, or if you know the movie name, you know the soundtrack. So you know
yeah.
at least a little bit about it.
And
So
that
yeah.
irony they get off on, they're like, "Oh my God,
Mm.
if only he
Yeah.
titled it something else, it could have been a hit." Um,
Yeah.
well, what do you think, Adam?
Well, my first experience wasn't too long ago, like a few months ago, because it was actually Kirsty that introduced us to it, and I thought it was brilliant. I had the same feeling. I was thinking, like, there's no way these animals are actually dying. It's like
Mm.
it is too, it's almost too realistic.
Mm.
But again, I understand. I don't agree with it, but I can understand the want the realism and that kind of stuff. But it's also the way that they do die. It's not. It's not quick. It's not painless. It's not done by a professional. It's it is torture for this animal that is dying. But like I see what they're doing. They want realism, but then also you've spent so much money on a prop of a dead body. Could you not spend that bit more and make a fake turtle? Like, but yeah,
Yeah, one detail which I guess I don't remember. I don't remember forgetting it. Was when Monroe and them are in the jungle early on, and one of them, I think it might be Chaco, or he picks up the turtle shell,
yeah.
Mm.
Was
and
his
I never caught that until today, or that I can
yeah?
remember. I'm like,
Because I think it's quite good that it is like a little trail of breadcrumbs that they're following, like because they find the turtle shell and then they find the dead body of the original tour guides that led the original crew, and it's like, oh well, what happened here? It's like he must have been killed in that. It's like it turns out the original crew did all that.
mm.
It's just it is neat that it goes backwards and forwards for a story, quite Tarantino-esque.
Yeah, it's got like two parts, and the the Green Inferno parts, are supposed to be super realistic, or plausibly realistic. I think they are for film back then. I think they are. I mean, nowadays everything's going to be smooth because it's on digital. But
Yeah, of course.
um, Mark Baranowski, the Marksman, I've been close friends for 26 years. But a lot of movies I was curious about and heard about and read about. I was on a mission to kind of see all of them, especially the horror. And he made these tapes. So you get three on one. So the picture wasn't very good, but so he had a whole big videotape collection. Healing with Bar Cannibal Holocaust, and I don't know, it wasn't what I was thinking it was going to be. Because I had seen part of Cannibal Ferox, and I was just like, "Fuck this, man! Like this is trash." And I've tried to give, other than the animal deaths, I've tried to give Hannibal Ferox a chance. Every time I do, I can't get through the movie. I think he's trying to go for that vibe that Deodato had, but I mean, how could you invent a genre and then you can't duplicate it yourself?
Yeah.
He did another one though. He did kind of redeem himself with Eaten Alive, Mangiati Vivi. That's a fun movie. Then that one he kind of leans a little bit away from the gore and a little more into the camp, just the craziness of going to this jungle palace. And Ivan Rasimov's in that too, and he plays a character that's kind of based on Jim Jones. So he has this cult, and Robert Kerman is the hero in it. He's like a mercenary, but I highly recommend that one. It's like a very funky soundtrack. Again, totally congruous. Bow, bow, bow,
Mm.
bow. Yes, I saw it through Marksman, and it wasn't very good quality. I went to a comic book convention. And I saw this guy who sold all the bootleg tapes. He had it. I went home that night. And I watched it, and Man, I was blown away. The picture was way not like it is now, but the picture was way better than what I'd seen. So, yes, so that's how I first saw it, encountered it. I got the DVD from uh, Grindhouse releasing in like 2005, and it's pretty cool that what they did with that. And Sage Stallone died. I forgot when, but in the last maybe 10 years, died pretty young. Um, I forgot the name of his partner off the top of my head, but they put out quite a few cool things, but that was like the holy grail to me. And it came in at my work, and I did the videos at my work. So we got three copies, and I got the one with the lowest. They were numbered too. I got the lowest numbered one. I think I got like 450 or 550. It was out of like 10,000, and it's all they made of the DVD. The Blu-ray hasn't been limited. But what's funny is when it went on Blu-ray, it was constantly sold out. They had to keep making more. So somebody's making a lot of money off this. It's got to be one of the most profitable movies of all time because it
Mm.
was made for $100,000, and the estimated returns on it worldwide since 1980 to now are is 20 million. So people will go like, "Ah, 20 million. The Marvel movies make 500 million." I'm like, "Yeah, but the Marvel movies don't cost only $100,000."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Profit. That's what a lot of people don't get. They look in terms of number of dollars. They don't think that it's how profitable something is. They just think,
Well, I think for that type of movie for the time, that's done pretty well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, in my opinion.
yeah. It's done better than a lot of the Italian genre movies. I mean, a lot of those movies are finding their audience now through
Mm.
home video and conventions, and I think it's great. I think it's great that all these fans assailed Robert Kerman at conventions and embarrassed him. Not because I wanted him to be embarrassed, but come on, man. He died. This is for his legacy, for better or worse.
Well, I
Which
also want to make an opinion as well. I don't
yeah,
want to be sort of biased or anything here, but considering all of like the movies that you were talking about, they've come out, they've been out and stuff, whereas Cannibal Holocaust, that will be remembered
yeah,
for what it is in the director and what happened in the movie, or at least
right.
people talking about it. Whereas those movies, maybe because I'm not interested in their movies, but their movies won't be talked about in 50 years' time, I don't think. Whereas
Yeah,
this one has.
I think knockoffs are usually not gonna. I mean, they'll have their own small audience, but they have
Mm,
to be something different. Um,
yeah.
the only movie that really twisted the cannibal thing in Italy was Cannibal Apocalypse, which I fucking love with all my heart. But it's not. It has no people cannibalizing people in the jungle. It has no jungle. It has no animal death.
Mm.
It's like a plague that affects our protagonists after Vietnam War. So it's kind of like a Cronenberg movie meets a Buddy Giovanna movie. So and it's great and it's funny and fun. I think that's just you guys watch it. But after that, they just kind of died out. I know it's like 81, I think, or something. There really is no market. But yeah, I know Eli Roth made the Green Inferno. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one, but I do know a lot of other movies by Eli Roth.
Yeah, we were just talking about,
Eli
today.
Roth,
Oh,
he
who?
did Hostel 1, 2, and 3.
Hmm.
He did one of the segments for Masters of Horror. He
Hmm.
did Knock Knock. He did.
You
What
mentioned a
was
couple of movies
yeah,
as well, didn't
what
you?
was the other one? House with a Clock in the Wall, something like that.
What is it?
I think it was House in the Clock with the Clock in the Wall. I haven't
That
seen it.
sounds
I was
familiar.
looking up his biography and I was like
Yeah, I mean, he
reading aloud.
actually he actually has not made that many movies, but he did make a
Yeah.
huge impact with.
See, I know him more of like an actor, like because he was on Inglorious
Yes,
Bastards and that
he
kind of stuff.
he was in a Tarantino movie, especially. Inglourious Bastards. Let's see.
I do love the Hostel movies, like. Yeah, I do like
Yeah.
them.
It's been a while. I do
He
like
would
it.
did Cabin Fever too. That he did that first. There was
Oh,
Aye,
Cabin
aye.
Fever. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Cabin Fever I has had like four movies now. He did. I don't think he directed any of the sequels. He wrote the remake. See, it was remade in like 10 years. 14 years it was remade. I didn't like the remake, but yeah, he did Cabin Fever, Hostel 1 and 2. The Man with the Iron Fists. No, he didn't do that. He wrote it. Uh, Green Inferno, Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves. He directed that Death Wish remake, which I despised. I saw that, and yeah, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. That's one I haven't seen. That sounded kind of interesting. And he just did one called Borderlands, which I heard buzz about, but I didn't realize he was the director. That's interesting.
Yeah, I
He,
didn't realize that. That's quite mainstream,
I was
isn't
going to
it?
say Borderline. You mentioned that today, didn't you?
Yeah,
I
it's the
keep
one
getting
that came out.
recommended ads for it on different places, but
It
I
is
haven't.
the mainstream one that came out with Kevin Hart and was it Kate Blanchett, I believe, something like that. And
I'm not too
Jack Black
sure.
is the robot. I never played Borderlands.
It's a video. It was a video game, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But trying to think if there's any more anecdotes. But you guys feel free to tell me any thoughts that or questions or whatever you have. And
I was just going to say about the acting of some of the actors in the movie, like especially that female lead actress in it, with the dark hair. I
Faye?
kind of Faye.
Well,
they
Faye or
don't.
Shauna, we don't know which.
Um, well, the one that was where she was like naked getting ready, and she was like, "Oh, you're recording" and stuff like that. And she was the one that kind of went off it when they raped that the
Yeah,
African
yeah.
woman.
God.
She freaked out on the tarantula. I forgot to mention that. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I read that there's actually people who lump that in with the other animal deaths, and I don't. I mean, a tarantula. First of all, they put a real tarantula on it. I don't know if it's deadly or not. Put it on her. Then he flicked it off with the machete and cut it in half. Most people would probably do that. If your girlfriend's about to be bitten on her breast by a tarantula and you can get it off, you're probably going to immediately kill it.
yeah.
You know?
yeah.
But I was saying this before. I would class it as like I wouldn't do it because like I mean most tarantulas are out there aren't venomous or like dangerous to
Right.
us. I mean
Yeah,
they
I mean,
get
most of
killed
them
with a
aren't as
bite.
bad as people think, but it's just
Yeah,
scary because of the way we're taught. I
yeah.
don't.
It's just, we don't know them, so we are scared of them. But I mean, I don't know. You could have used a
You
rubber
said that
spider.
the bigger they are, that the less
Yeah,
venomous they are, and they're
Mm.
mostly vegetarians anyway. Like
yeah.
that's what you
A
said.
lot of them do just feed on like fermented fruit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like same
Oh.
like scorpions. They say the smaller they are, more deadly. So, but I mean, like I get like she would freak out over it, but I don't think they need to cleave it in half.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think they're automatically all going to kill us, but I mean, I'll let them get too close to me. Yeah, the in America it got banned. In New Zealand it got banned and it's still banned. We got to tell Justin that. He was born in New Zealand. Um, in Australia it was banned, then cut, then now it's uncut. In Britain it finally came out uncut, which is shocking. I forgot what rating it has on it. I forgot what all those numbers mean. I used to know it, but it seems like they've changed a lot because when I used to read Video Watchdog, Tim Lucas would talk about this kind of stuff every issue, go through a movie, all the cuts and tell where they're cut. And he said a few times, he said, if you see a British movie that has any kind of content that's anyway offensive, uh, it will be cut. Don't assume any British film will ever be uncut. Now he's turned out to be wrong ultimately, but for a long time that was true because they'll give it an 18 certificate, and you're like, oh wow, 18 and over, yeah, but then it's still got like the most graphic shots cut out of it. And then I don't know, it's just mainly it's because of the BBFC and especially the chairman. I think his name is James Foreman. Furman. He was a nut. He was a zealot. He was like a moral zealot. So he was on crusade against these kind of movies. And he might have been the one who coined the term video nasties. He definitely was the one who told people they were all real. He would just went on telling people all these movies are real and they're snuff and all this stuff. So Cannibal Holocaust is right in the middle of that era. Um, there had always been a rumor that Diodato had been arrested. So I found out today that that's actually not true. He was never arrested, but he was taken to trial. So him and the writer, Clarici, and two of the producers, they all went to court. They couldn't get any. They couldn't do anything to him. They took him to court again over the animal deaths. They wanted to nab him on something in this movie, and he actually did lose that case, but he didn't have a very big punishment. Like he had all.
Didn't also the actors have to turn up at court as well to
No, they
prove
never
that
went to
the
court. That's also a rumor. They never went to court. I thought I had heard one of them at some point on an extra on one of the DVDs or something. I thought one of them had said, we had to not appear in a movie for a year to
Mhm.
keep the illusion that it was snuff.
I heard that as well, yeah.
But the stuff I read today said that's absolutely not true. And
Right.
they quoted Gabriel York. He said, "I've never been in a courtroom with Diodato. I don't want to be in a room with Diodato." And I'm like,
Right.
wow. So they did make movies during that period. They weren't like super big, well known movies, but Kerman probably made a bunch of pornos. Pornos and cannibals. He covers it all. The DVD of Grindhouse, I think, was the first time it was widely available in America and a few other countries. So yeah, so it's been uncut here for 19 years, 20 years almost. So now it's not as big of a thing, but it is interesting. The somebody's probably made a documentary about it, but it'd be interesting to watch it if it were done well about all of this kind of stuff we're talking about. Because it's like
Mhm.
you said, it's not just the film itself, but everything attached to it. It did a lot of things that I don't know. Like I watched it on a really big TV today. I hadn't watched it on the big TV in several years. When it gets to the end, where the camera works totally frantic, and they're killing Faye and killing Jack, and the music's shifting around, I was just like, "This is a fucking masterpiece." This is my personal take. I believe it's one of the most incredible movies ever made. You can leave your morality at the door, personal morality. I get it, but just aesthetically, whether he intended something or not, it's brilliant. The stars were right. All these bad things happened, and this singular kind of work came out of it that everyone is going to talk about forever. And it's like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
can you ask for more? It's like,
yeah. I
and
agree with that, yeah.
I used to not like to watch it. Well, the adulterous scene really bothered me. First time, I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not the genital mutilation. Anytime it goes there, I'm kind of like tuned out. I mean, I'll watch it, but I'll be like, no, not there, please. And so it was but over time I've gotten I made it a habit to watch it every Halloween. So I watched it every Halloween for about 15 years. And then 15, yeah, 15 years. But the last few times I'd watched it, which are only a couple of years ago, I really liked it. It's not something I can put on though and just have on the background. I can't help but pay
Mhm.
attention to it. And it's so jarring. All the sounds are jarring, the music's jarring.
Mhm.
Uh, it could be nerve shredding to some people if they just were of a weak constitution, I think,
Yeah.
which I'm sure it has been.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Did any of you guys throw up or get seriously disturbed by scenes? You mentioned a couple, Adam, but
No, no, we were eating popcorn us.
not that you threw up. You mentioned the disturbing part.
I think the most disturbing scene in the entire movie for me, I'm gonna say it is all the animal cruelty scenes combined. Each
Mm,
one of them. Like, because I'm an animal lover, Adam is an animal lover.
me too.
You've
Yeah.
got two dogs, haven't you? So, like, not that they're dogs, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah. Sure.
it's the animal cruelty scenes totally, and also the raping of the tribeswoman as well. I thought that was
Yeah.
really disgusting on their part
Well,
You
I
to
mean
do
believe
that.
that's
when
But
she's gang raped by the cameraman?
yeah.
yeah,
But I
Yeah.
believe with stuff like that, it's a means to the end, really. It's like
mm,
if they didn't do that stuff, then you would feel too bad. That things happen
Yes.
the way they
You have
do.
to absolutely despise them
Exactly.
mhm.
to have them torn apart and eaten alive.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, like I said to you at the end of the movie, like, it is, I've got no sympathy for these actors
Yeah.
at the end for what they did to
Yeah.
those tribes people and the burning of the
Yeah.
house and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I said to him, I says,
Yeah.
I've literally got no feeling. I was literally eating my Aero chocolate, just watching it,
Yeah.
like, okay.
It's
You
I believe
know?
yeah. I believe that's the intention though. It's
Yeah,
you've got to hate these people to
yeah,
actually watch this happen to them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
what I've read, the natives, I mean they weren't clued into all the levels we're talking about, but they knew what was being done. You know,
Mm,
they weren't primitive, and actually, this is where you get into the thing where a lot of people who love the movie say that It was actually commenting on the West exploiting third world countries and primitive tribes. I think it was in an obvious way. I mean, how could you not think
Mhm.
that? But I don't know how deliberate or deep Deodato had in mind.
Well, I believe that it sort of hints on that at the end, where the anthropologist says who in the end is the real cannibal, and say that's the last word apart from the credits.
Um, but yeah, this movie, I think definitely it is something people could study, people could think about, and all those like lost things and those little mistakes I mentioned that was just really weird. Um, if I'd never noticed them before, and I wasn't really looking for them. But it's cool. Maybe I'll watch it again. I'll find something else, or maybe I'll find an article point me to something else. Um, so
Mhm.
do you guys want to sum up your thoughts, and then I will do the same, and then we'll wrap on CH.
No, I just the last words that I want to add is that it's definitely a unique movie, like what I said before, and I definitely think that people should watch this if they've got the stomach for it,
Mm.
from what they have heard. It is a unique experience as well to sit through a movie like that, and it's like a learning curve for me as well because watching them animal scenes in particular, it really tested like me watching the movie, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing now that there were real scenes, it's more of a shock value than anything else, really. But yeah, but definitely worth a watch though.
Cool. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I totally agree. Like we've hit on the animal subject a lot, but like regardless of that, like it is a great film, and it is very hard hitting for partly for those exact reasons, but from start to finish, it is just totally intriguing.
Yeah, it's
So,
just an experience. So, I guess that wraps up for this amazing symposium. We have tried our best to analyze Cannibal Holocaust, dig deep, and going deep is like on that movie is like going into the abyss, and the abyss staring
Mhm.
back at you, as Nietzsche said. So, we did it though. So we hope you learned something. Hope you enjoy the movie, and it'll be talked about forever.
Mhm.
As far as we're concerned, we would like you to like and subscribe. Just hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, do the notification bell if you want, because YouTube algorithms. I mean, if you're watching us regularly, a video may come up and you won't necessarily see it. The algorithms have to kind of be pushed. It's weird data mine works, but so if you do those things, we would really appreciate it. And thank you very much. We'll be back with some more extreme and non-extreme content very soon. Okay, hello again, my friends. You have been watching our Extreme Film Symposium on Cannibal Holocaust, Part 2. We have given you the views of the panel, myself, co-host Sensory Stowers of Two Extreme for Mainstream, and the wonderful Adam Riley, a new recruit to the Dip Images crew. You have been given a wonderful introduction by Bill Mulligan, a longtime scholar of this film and films like it. And along those lines, the party's not over. So, in just one moment, we're going to reintroduce you to a former member of the Deep Images crew and cast who does work with us on occasion still. He provides the music to the openings of our shows, and he is going to give you his impassioned views on Cannibal Holocaust, a film that he has had held near and dear to his heart for many, many years. Full disclosure, this man got me into Cannibal Holocaust. He's the first one who showed it to me. Coincidentally, the first movie I bonded with Bill Mulligan over when I first met him was Cannibal Holocaust. So, see, this is building bridges, man. Burning down villages, but building bridges. So, without further ado, I want to give you Mark Baranowski, aka the Marksman, and he's going to tell it like it is on Cannibal Holocaust. Thank you. Let's get into it.
What's happening, everybody? The Marksman here, coming at you point blank, talking today about Cannibal Holocaust. Classic. Classic! What can be said at this point that hasn't already been said about this infamous 1980 movie from director Ruggero Deodato? I rewatched Cannibal Holocaust recently, along with many other horror movies from that year, as I hope to find time to do with every consecutive year thereafter. There aren't many movies that I would rate 10 out of 10, but Cannibal Holocaust is absolutely one of them. Not just because of how much I love the movie itself, but because of the lengths that it went to hit all of your emotions. while commenting on the Western world and humanity itself as it was gradually devolving by 1980. It was so incredibly poignant and still is, and it continues to cause incredible outrage not among just horror fans and movie fans in general, but in the other part of society that's even aware of its existence. I'm honestly surprised that it shows up at all on any streaming services currently, especially in uncut form. Diodato ended up in hot water legally after the movie was released, not only being forced to defend himself and his right to make such a movie, but to prove that it wasn't actually real, beyond the obvious moments of unflinching animal cruelty. I'm guessing animal rights weren't a prevalent social issue at the tail end of the 70s when these scenes were shot, otherwise Diodato certainly wouldn't have risked doing so for fear of such legal troubles. To my knowledge, this was unprecedented at the time, and boundaries were still being tested, especially by Diodato and his Italian counterparts. 1980 was apparently the year for cannibal movies, which were coming out like crazy, just as slasher movies began to shortly thereafter. But in relation to Cannibal Holocaust, none come close to reaching its heights, except maybe Cannibal Ferox for different reasons. I honestly don't remember the first time I saw the movie, but it must have been in the late 80s, while I was still in high school and living with my grandparents. My love for horror, especially of the extreme variety, stems from the Italian titles that I rented constantly from our local video stores. No, not Blockbuster. Video Factory in Kenmore, New York quickly became my second home. Or uncut VHS imports I ordered from Midnight Video. Remember their ads in Gore's Own magazine? The movie opens with aerial shots of the Amazon jungle, accompanied by the peaceful, lulling orchestration of Riz Ortolani, which may be the only thing about Cannibal Holocaust I'm not a fan of, though I'll admit it becomes much more effective later on in the film. I get that they were trying to separate the on-screen carnage from the soft music, but that seldom works for me. Being a collector of Italian horror film scores, I do own the soundtrack album, but after several attempts, I just can't listen to it on its own. For the sake of authenticity, some sequences have been retained in their entirety. That opening disclaimer right there represents what I appreciate most about this movie, and extreme horror in general, whether films or literature. Its authenticity. It doesn't shy away from the violence for the sake of delicate sensibilities, but boldly goes where most are afraid to, showing it all go down just as it would be if you were to witness it firsthand, God forbid. As the reporter at the beginning states, we should become more acquainted with the planet we live on. And then he goes on about survival of the fittest, which truly is the bottom line, isn't it? Always has been. Though today it's more like the survival of the richest. And speaking of Eli Roth, after hearing the repeated mention of the term Green Inferno in Cannibal Holocaust, it's no surprise that he chose such an unimaginative title for his own cannibal movie. It's quite a pleasant surprise, however, to see actor Robert Kerman, a veteran of 70s hardcore adult cinema, among the cast of Cannibal Holocaust. The man was fortunate enough to be continually hired for mainstream productions throughout the 80s, while still maintaining a career in porn. Under a pseudonym, of course. And I have to say, at least the jungle natives looked authentic here, compared to those from most cannibal movies released back then or since. Nothing takes me more out of the moment than a bunch of white guys in face paint and wigs pretending to be primitive flesh-eating savages. Once past the sleep-inducing opening music, you're drawn in instantly and fully absorbed, from the reporter's opening dialogue to the introduction of Kerman's character, Professor Harold Monroe, an anthropologist from New York University, that embarks on an expedition to the Amazon jungle in hopes of locating Alan Yates and his crew, who recently traveled there to make a documentary and went missing. Next, you've got soldiers finding and destroying natives in their search for clues. Everything is pow, 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 non-stop. There are no dull moments. Every scene is relevant, along with every bit of dialogue. We're introduced to the wildlife by way of a sloth and several cute monkeys, which would generally be the extent of animal footage in any other jungle epic, and I'm sure that's what people expected or were used to back in 1980. There's some foreshadowing when a turtle shell is discovered, leading us to believe that the natives had eaten there and that the search party is on the right track. They literally then stumble upon the grisly remains of the guy that had been leading Yates and his crew through the jungle. The first animal kill is inflicted upon a hapless muskrat, supposedly to provide dinner for the search party that night, but after their own guide, Chaco, forces some white powder, cocaine, onto their captured Yakumo native from the side of his machete, most of the animal's innards are thrown to the prisoner instead, which does make the entire sequence feel like it was staged simply for shock value. The group then bears witness to some sort of Yakumo ritual holistic punishment for adultery. Even while covered in mud, the female victim looks more like a luscious production assistant than a Yakumo native. In any case, the scene manages to both titillate and disturb. Next were treated to Chaco's lithe young assistant, Miguel, stripping nude with their native prisoner restrained on the ground beside him in order to lure some tribal warriors from hiding as a display of good intentions. His plan works, and they followed the tribesmen back to their village, where an elder Yakumo tries to communicate to them the extent of carnage brought upon their village by Yates and company. They manage to ease any remaining suspicions from the tribe by releasing their prisoner and bribing them all with a switchblade knife. The next day, the elder leads them in the direction of a lethal confrontation between dueling tribes, Yamamomos, the tree people, and their enemies, Shamatari, the swamp people. The helpful intervention by the group in favor of the former grants them access into their village, though they still haven't gained the tribe's complete trust. This is achieved in part by our good Professor Monroe taking his turn to strip nude and wade into the river, much to the delight of several nubile female Yamamomos who circle around him to cavort playfully. He and his guides follow them into the bush and to their horror discover the ghastly remains of Yates and his companions. Back at the Yamamomo's village, a frustrated and impatient Monroe decides to risk their lives by shooting his pistol into the air, throwing it to the ground, and then playing an audio tape of a rhythmic tribal chant, most likely the Yakumos. This does the trick, as the Yamamomos begin to appear from their treehouse with a clear display of their enjoyment. The mutilated body of a criminal tribesman is lowered to the ground, meaning it's dinner time. Monroe reluctantly shares a bite of uncooked organ with the head of the tribe, and he's granted Yates film reels in exchange for his tape recorder, and then he's back in New York. The NYU board executives want to air the still unseen footage and to let the public form their own opinions, but the professor talks them out of it and sets out to get better insight into the personal and professional lives of Yates and his crew from those that knew them best. As more and more the truth is revealed, both about them and what really took place in the jungle, the more despicable these conceited, overconfident sadists become. Motivated solely by the fame and fortune they believe the documentary footage will award them, these degenerates stop at nothing to fabricate a compelling chain of events at the Yakumo's expense. Their cruelty and a complete disregard for the lives of these so-called savages is astounding. These people, who once passed as civilized, are nothing more than selfish, immoral, and murderous scum. And while shocking, their fates couldn't be more well-deserved and satisfying to witness. After all we've just seen, Monroe's final question of who the real cannibals are brings Cannibal Holocaust to a perfect close. One more thing about the animal cruelty everyone rants about. I remember there being much more on display in Umberto Lenzi's Cannibal Ferox, and even that was just larger animals killing and eating smaller ones, which is just the circle of life, folks. Again, survival of the fittest. Happens every day, whether in the Amazon jungle or the urban one. There just happened to be a camera there to capture it. Even the admittedly gratuitous river turtle slaughter in Cannibal Holocaust resulted in dinner for Yates and his team. If they hadn't eaten it, something else certainly would have. Nothing goes to waste in the jungle. Cannibal Holocaust gets the highest possible rating from me. Like a Serbian film, it goes to extremes that every serious horror film should. You can't claim to be a horror fan if these aren't in your top 10. And who watches a movie called Cannibal Holocaust, horror fan or not, expecting anything other than what it delivers in spades? If you can't handle it, that's on you, not the filmmakers. What, too real for you? Too depressing? Open your eyes.
I wonder who the real cannibals are.
And it's true that we cannot see that far behind. If we looked all the way in the past, we'd go blind. In the night, from the stars as they've all lived their lives, and the light that they gave as they burned and then died.